What's up, everybody? Here's Ivan from Berlin. Today, we are diving into Scrum, Stoicism, and systems thinking. Three topics that might sound totally unrelated at first, but actually fit together in a powerful way to help you lead better, navigate complexity, and build stronger teams. Let's jump right in.
Yes, subtitle is Scrum meets Stoicism in Business Central. So let's get started. Table of content is also quite scary. You might say there is a number of, but don't be scared. These are basically, so not every point here has a couple of slides. So these are basically slides that we have. We will go quickly through them. In the beginning, there is quite some theory. I'm not a fan of too much text in presentations, but I think it ended up with having quite some text. But bear with me. We need some basis, some theory in order to try to understand what was my idea and why did I decide to talk about this. So we will just quickly, we'll have a quick about me slide. Why did I decide to bring this topic to this webinar? How to focus in the world of what I call chaos and complexity and constant beeps and messages and whatnot, emails, notifications and everything. And then comes the 3S. What I called, I just made that up with Scrum, Stoicism, and systems thinking. And then later on will be a bit more practical, not too much theory. We will talk why do I see this as a perfect mix, these three S's, 3S. We will talk then about some real Scrum stuff like board, like code review, estimations, retrospective, sprints, backlogs, the famous 80-20 Pareto principle. Then why I find super important to talk about feedback and constructive feedback. And yes, another concept of systems thinking to fix the root cause. And what would be a presentation nowadays without mentioning AI? We will do that also quite somewhere at the end. And then I prepare for you key takeaways and then some materials and inspiration if these topics, how should I say, finds you well or you find it interesting. I have some ideas for you where you can dig deeper and get some more ideas. And then if you like, please feel free to make this dynamic. If you have any question, feel free to ask. I'm always open for this bi-directional, so that we can make this a dialogue, not only a monologue, if you can say like that. A bit about me. I have now around or already a bit more than 15 plus years in the BC, or you can say Navision BC world. Lately, yes, engineering management is my really. I thought I found my place finally here because I really like bridging this gap between people and tech, and in this position there is really a chance to do so. But maybe a bit. Just a couple of sentences more. I started 15 years ago in Antwerp. I guess this is a good city to start a career as an app developer. I was really lucky to meet Waldo. Actually, the first company that I worked in Antwerp, we were not in the same company, but we were part of the how to say it, parent company, or I don't know how to say it. And I met Waldo then, and you can say I got back then as an intern, already infected, or how to say it, and excited about BC, and that along with BC Tech Days in Antwerp really is holding me now 15 years later. I'm still in this area. Yes, maybe not too much. I have experience as with Microsoft partners and also end users, quite a mixture. with end users, I find myself a bit more, how should I say, I like to be close to the users, to see their happy faces, to see the results of the work directly. So yeah, I'm right now working for an end user in home care sector, and as here is nicely explained, focus on making complex systems like business-centered work, not just work, but work well for people. Yes, I'm passionate about Scrum, and I found this mixture with Stoic philosophy and systems thinking. We'll talk about it. So yeah, I had customers where I lived around in different countries, like Belgium, Denmark, Germany, States, customers from Spain, so all around Europe. So quite extensive experience. And let's see, what did I make out of this experience? As I said, why this session at Areopa Webinar? AKA, we want to see some code. So that's what developers are saying. So where should I start? In the AI-driven world, I really think that engineering mindset and team collaboration will matter more than ever. So we have to maybe zoom out a bit. In this session, I would like to talk about how we do stuff. So not what we do. We are all good developers. We all can write good code, hopefully test automation and so on. But I would really like to focus on how we do stuff, right? As I said, in today's world, I really think this makes sense. You will tell me at the end if this works for you, if you find it interesting or not. A couple of sessions ago, Christian Lenz did a similar session about elastic leadership. I liked it a lot, and yeah, I want to. You know, in BC world, I always hear, we are only BC developers. There is always this only. I really like to bring a bit more engineering mindset, and you know, I always think about Vieco did this story a couple of years ago at BC Tech Days. Vieco is anyway a lot busy with .NET and so on, other programming languages and so on. And he said the story, hey, and you meet about BC Tech Days was it? And you meet every year in Antwerp, and what do you do, guys, together? A couple of hundred people, you sit together and then post the general journal line and go through code unit 1280 and so on. And yeah, it's funny because it's true, because that's exactly what we do. We gather together once a year and then we post general journal line. Of course not. So I would like to bring another perspective and bring this to a completely different level. I don't know how does it feel for you, but as I said, small disclaimer, I'm talking about end user environment. So I understand a lot of people in this community or in BC Tech Days also community, they work for Microsoft partners or ISVs and so on. I think this is definitely, you can implement it also there, but I just want you to know that I'm talking about end user perspective. So where you have a fixed team, a fixed system, and you do also support and a lot of different stuff. So why do I say all of this? Because every day in my work feels like, every single day feels like firefighting. And I assure you, it's really like that every single day. So I'm not sure if it's by Microsoft at Microsoft partners like this or something, but this is really the feeling. There is urgency everywhere. There is cross-functional friction. Product owners are pulling one way, then stakeholders another. I don't know, CTO on another side. So there is really, I call it chaos. There is this chaos and constant stream of beeps, buzzes, notifications, pings. Can you have a look at this page? This add-in doesn't work, and so on. So it's really incredible. another thing, once again, I'm not sure is it only with end users or not, but there are too many meetings. I could make a session about meeting culture. Yeah, I don't know. Meetings should all have structure, should all have agenda, should have a loop, outcome, and only the meaning. So meetings that bring value should be. If you see a certain meeting doesn't make sense, please bring it up. It will maybe hurt someone. That happens with me all the time, but bring it up. Let's make all meetings constructive and only have meetings that are really needed. And then, of course, changing priorities. That's everyone can I guess confirm this. So yeah, I see this as a constant chaos, complexity, firefighting mode. And how can we at least try to bring some structure, to bring some clarity, and so on. So today we will focus on this part here. So we come from daily chaos, urgency, firefighting modus. We all need more focus and clarity, and that's where my ideas are here. Yes, kicking in, and then hopefully at the end we have better decisions, clearer thinking, sustainable pace, and then we can say less space for burnout or whatever. Yeah, I mostly mentioned yes, that we need focus on clarity. Then comes Scrum, Stoicism, and system thinking with rhythm and structure, with resilience, and with bigger picture. So hopefully this combination that I came with will help us go through this chaos. So a little bit about defining what all these three areas are. So I think most of us know Scrum is an agile framework for developing and sustaining complex products, you can say, and it helps us inspect and adapt. Then we have Stoicism, this philosophy that I'm really interested in recently. And as I said, don't worry, we don't have to go too philosophical, but I think some concepts are really. I was really when you read a Scrum book from Jeff Sutherland and you read a Stoic book, then you see, hey, this is actually related. Why don't we talk about it? So that is the part of reflect and respond. And systems thinking is just to zoom out, see a bigger picture, have a holistic approach, and redesign when necessary, right? Let's go a bit of theory. This is the part that I mentioned. It's going to be some text there. There with me, we will quickly go through it. Yes, once again, Scrum is an agile project management to structure that helps structuring work, managing, and it's based on a set of values, principles, and practices. This name, you probably know, Scrum is name taken from rugby. And that's this parallel with rugby team trying to go or how to say, to go forward on the field every 10 yards, or I don't know how does it exactly work. That's exactly what we want to achieve in Scrum, moving in this continuous increments, small values, always moving forward to having a sustainable product, to build value for our customers and achieve the final goal. What is important is that all of that is through experiences. It's about self-organized teams, and then what is really important is about reflecting on the we can say wins and losses, or in our case implemented and not implemented things in order to continuously improve. People very often mix, or they don't have a clear line what is Agile, what is Scrum. Yeah, that's fine. It's not like we are going to save the world with this, but maybe to bring some more clarity. Because they are both built around continuous improvement, and actually Scrum is a framework which is also Agile. So Scrum is a framework for getting work done, and Agile is kind of, if you want, it's a philosophy that we can implement. So even Scrum is philosophy, not on the Stoicism, you can say. And the Agile philosophy centers around continuous incremental improvement through small and frequent releases. Where you can say Scrum and Agile, they differ in that Scrum has a so-called Scrum guide. There is really a document of, I don't know how many pages, where it's defined, strictly defined. I think co-creator of Scrum, Jeff Sutherland, sometimes goes too far and says, if you don't implement every single step of this framework, it's not going to work, and things like that. I'm not sure if you should be so strict. So a lot of people say, let's implement what works for us, the rest we can leave. But I think at least light framework should be definitely like steady, and then the rest you build around it you can then align it with your own needs, right? And Agile has its own so-called manifesto, and I like to mention this as well here. These are four principles. I guess everyone who is interested in Agile knows them. It says individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So individuals and interactions, yes, very important. I hope you get a point. Then next one is also quite straightforward. It says working software over comprehensive documentation. Attention, that doesn't mean you shouldn't document your features, so you shouldn't do a release notes or whatever. But when you're in a situation to choose, to prioritize, I would also always prioritize working software over documentation of 80 pages, right? Once again, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do documentation at all, but your focus is on working software, quick releases, making customer happy. And when I say customer, Jeff is also mentioning this in his book. It's please don't. Customer can be different in different contexts. It's not always customer really who's buying. Maybe you consider your users within the company your customers, or in certain cases you consider stakeholders as your customers, or depends on context. I think Jeff in this book said, because he is insisting on implementing Scrum even in personal life, right? He says, okay, when I have to organize, I don't know, he's already married, but let's take this example. If I'm organizing this wedding ceremony according to Scrum, then your customer is your wife or something like this. So please don't be please try to understand customer in a wide sense. Then the third one is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Once again, contract negotiation doesn't mean directly with your customer. It can mean with stakeholders, whoever your stakeholders and customers are. And then the fourth one is extremely important, not in only in Scrum, in Agile, in any kind, in extreme programming, in anything that has to do with Agile, is responding to the change over blindly following a plan. So that's extremely important. If you want Agile mindset, responding to change, recognize it, prioritize it, and decide what to do about it. Don't ignore it. On the other hand, don't blindly, I don't know, put it live. So recognize it, and then try to make a fast decision. How are you going to tackle this, right? I'm looking at the time. We should definitely move forward. Yeah, a bit more of theory. Maybe we can go through this one very quickly. Scrum is based on empiricism, so experience and what is observed, and then constant thinking. So every sprint is another chance to be better. So that's also somehow I find that philosophical. So imagine you have every 2 weeks to do better job than you did it in previous 2 weeks. You sit together with your team in your retro meeting, you discuss openly, and you can be better every single 2 weeks. How great is this concept? So simple, but so great. Lean thinking is, of course, very important. It's a reducing base and focusing on essentials. That's, I don't know. I don't have anything to add to this. That's self-explanatory. And yes, during this process, reprioritizing, having short release cycles, and constantly learn and improve, right? Yeah, this is just simple, you can say very simple picture of Scrum process. Yeah, let's super quickly go through it. It's important to make distinction between product backlog and one moment, sorry, I wanted to mark something, but it didn't work. Between product backlog here and sprint backlog. So product backlog is the big backlog. So every single thing that your product owner planned for you sooner or later to be done. And sprint backlog is what is prioritized, what is committed with your team. You sit together in this sprint planning meeting with your PO, with your Scrum Master, and you together based on priorities. Always you will hear this word priorities a lot in this session. This is what is done here, committed here in sprint backlog. And then you agree, you commit yourself together. So you have a commitment. This is what we are gonna do in next 2 weeks. And then that's closed. That's something steady. I'm a big fan to try to really plan, and because this is antagonistic, or how to say it. You want to be agile and then recognize change during these 2 weeks, but if you do this too often, then you lose your commitment. So the rule says every sprint should have a sprint goal. So as long as you don't ruin your sprint goal, you're allowed to take one ticket out and one in. But I think if this happens too often, your commitment is a bit ruined. So I'm a really big fan that what is planned, really try to do that. Really try not to change too much your commitment. There are different opinions on this. We can discuss it, but this is at least my take on this. Let's move forward. Scrum Master is one of the roles. The team development team, product owner. There is 1 to 4 week sprint. I think 80% of people are doing 2 sprints because that's not too short nor too long. Yeah, and then at the end you have finished work. This is so-called increment. This is the value that you brought in these 2 weeks, a value that you brought for your customers. And that's something that they can hopefully use directly. Sprint review and sprint retrospective are quite common. And of course, daily stand-up. Please don't forget daily stand-up. I really find very important, but as I said, we would have to move more or less faster. So I would not go too deep. It's worth mentioning sprint review and sprint retro are extremely important meetings. In sprint review, you're showing your users, your stakeholders also as well, or whoever is interested, what have you achieved? It's a small demo of your things you achieved in the last two weeks. It's a good shout out, hey guys, this is ready for you. So it's not about controlling someone. That's really important to say. It's about showing what has been achieved, what is the value, what is the increment that we added to our product. And sprint retrospective is a meeting that happens every 2 weeks where you sit together with your team and discuss, give feedback to each other. But I will come back to this topic so we don't have to lose much time here on that. Let's quickly philosophize a bit, if you say it like that. Just quickly, Stoicism is initially Hellenistic philosophy, but it flourished in Rome. So originated in Greece, but then later with Marcus Aurelius and a couple of other people, Seneca as well, Epictetus, and so on, flourished. And as I said, in Rome, there is a so-called modern Stoicism nowadays that I find very interesting. That is, yeah, there is an entire community about it, about modern Stoicism, and how can you yeah, maybe implement it in your own life. So let's not go too deep. Stoics believe in virtue, and these are 4 prudence, fortitude, temperance, and justice. And that is the source of happiness in fulfilling life. But let's maybe implement it to our, let's say, how was it mentioned? To fulfill life of a BC developer. Let's let's maybe define it like that. So I have here 6 key principles. So first of all, virtue is the only good. So wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance is the only true good necessary for well-lived life. Acceptance of what you can control. Here, this can be already so practical. Accept what is in your control. This can be so good applied in life, but also in Scrum. I find this extremely, extremely important for setting priorities, for making fast decisions. Extremely important thing. We'll mention it a couple of times. Self-improvement and self-awareness. There you go. Sprint retro meeting. That's the place. That's one-to-one. Self-improvement of individuals, so team members, but as the team itself as well. So the next, so we have 3 more: mindfulness and present moment focus. Well, you can say this is a bit of, I don't know, mindfulness. Everyone talks about it, and nowadays it's bullshit. But present moment focus, I find it really, really interesting. I think we have our daily, right? That's daily meeting of 15 minutes, but I see the people, I see my colleagues there, and I can bet their attention, their thoughts are completely somewhere else. They're not present. So 15 minutes meeting, you can be present and focus on this moment, no? And I would add active listening. Active listening in nowadays with all this big chaos I'm talking about. Active listening, so easy thing. But a very rare, so very few times people are really actively listening to their colleagues, to their whatever partners and so on. I find that really, really important and very, very applicable, especially for remote teams. No, when we were more and more teams, my team is actually mostly remote. That's very important. In the past, we were meeting, you can say live. We were all together in the office. You can feel the body language, the vibe, the energy. Now there is no something like that. So I think really, really, really important in remote setup, in Scrum setup, to be present and to actively listen. Strength in the face of adversity is the next one. Yeah, I don't have anything to add. Adversity is actually, you can, all this chaos and complexity of every day, I see it like that. And resilient mindset and coping with hardship and challenges is very, very important. And then once again, or at the end, we have relationships and social cohesion. There you go. Scrum is all about it, building good team member relationships, building good vibe. Happy teams are only performing good, so quite important. And really, I hope you see it like that. But when I read like this, it's completely applicable to Scrum and to your private life as well. And let's quickly talk about systems thinking. That will be a bit more theory, and then we are jumping to some really Scrum specific stuff, right? Systems thinking is a holistic approach where its interconnectedness of elements is very important. It's very important to see a bigger picture and then to relate all these smaller parts into one big complex picture. I think we as developers, we are sometimes too deep. We see only the end of this chain and we are focusing on fixing, so pressing the button and then tomorrow the same thing happens. I'm asking, guys, why don't we fix this? Why don't we take more time and fix the cause, not the symptoms? So we don't have to press the damn button every single day, right? Why don't we think? Why don't we zoom out and see the bigger picture? Yeah, it's useful for tackling complex problems, understanding how systems evolve and making informed decisions, right? So once again, an end user, your system is quite complex. You have web service, you have interfaces to a lot of different systems. There is no documentation mostly about it. There is some developer did it 3 years ago, right? There is, I don't know, some middleware, there is BizTalk Monster and so on. Having a bigger picture, understanding the full picture is extremely important. A couple of tools here of a system thinker, right? Instead of disconnection, interconnectedness. Thinking circular, not linear. That's really what Scrum is. Everything actually in life, in nature, has cycles, has beginning and end. We will come back to this point shortly. Don't think in silos. Think about emergence, silos, or having closed so circles, but closed circles. That's in engineering management community. This is really a big topic. So think about wholes, not parts. Once again, think synthetic, or how to say it. Think about synthesis. Not well. Of course, you need analysis, but then later on, you definitely need a bigger picture, right? And then last but not least, once again, it should not be isolation. It should be relationships. You should be able to find it, connect it, document it, present it, have a common understanding within your team. Try to have shared knowledge and not keep knowledge only with one person, and so on, right? And one more slide about this topic, I promise. Once again, most of it it's been already mentioned. Holistic view, having all aspects, parts that influence each other, dynamic systems, not static. Feedback loops. There we go. This is what Scrum is. Agile is about loops. It's about improving, being better, right? Casual relationships and focus on patterns. Super important. When I put all of this, or maybe not all, most of these things together in this slide, it all somehow comes together, no? So Scrum is even here shown as a circle. We have our sprint planning, we have our daily Scrum. Step by step, we are going closer to the goal. We have the sprint review of what we have achieved. We have the retro, how can we better in next 2 weeks. We have product backlog, which is then later then minimized to be a sprint log, and then you have increment and demo, you have your sprint cycle, and then everything, all these concepts of of systems thinking, and then partially with Scrum come together with its feedback loops, interconnectedness, acceptance of what you can control, patterns. I just realized I have them too, but that's exactly the thing. So they come together. So right, I copied actually from two different slides, but circular synthesis and so on, self-improvement. It's all about that, right? Let's see now. We are now done with the. Well, of course, there will be also still theory, but we are done with purely theoretical part that deserves a bit of confettis. Bear with me, we are there. It is gonna get a bit more technical, at least I hope it is still interesting for you, right? Scrum board. This is the central place for a Scrum team. This is like a holy spot. This is where we show where we are in this sprint. It shows everything transparent. If you're on site, so in the office or remote using Jira or any other tool, this is where you show to the world transparent what did you plan in this sprint, where is a certain ticket. You don't have to ping me 15 times in Teams or email. Have a look at the board. Where is your ticket? Is it in testing phase? Is it maybe blocked with a certain impediment, and so on? And this is a one-to-one state of where you stand in your sprint. And I find Scrum board is really important. This is and psychologically and everything, seeing the full Scrum board at the beginning of the sprint, and then hopefully going with all these columns from left to right, and then at the end of the sprint, hopefully you see partially empty board. This is such a good feeling that you know that something has happened, that you achieved something, and once again you have a completely new, like a restaurant menu. In the next sprint, your board will be again full, and then you will have a new tickets. And I really find this mentally and psychologically very important. And here is where focus on what you can control also comes in place. So this is, you focus your commitment is on what you plan in this sprint. This is what you can control. Hopefully you thought in advance that you don't have these blockers, the so-called, in Scrum they call them impediments, or any dependency to other teams, that you thought about all of this in advance, and then you can focus on what you can control and what is on your board, right? And this is extremely good. It matches your real status of your ticket, so of your development, whether you're already in AL, so you're in Azure DevOps, your development will be in your either feature branch or your sprint branch or your release branch. So this is all one-to-one. So every column on your Jira, or maybe you don't use Jira, on your Scrum board is one-to-one, and then Jira or any other system ticket is explaining business value. And then you have either Azure DevOps or good old OMA tool for CAL, and all these things are one-on-one. Just by looking at it, you know where is your ticket, in which database or in which branch, and matching your column status on the board one-to-one, right? Let's talk a bit about code review. I think I've seen this in the few sessions. Code review is of course not a new concept, but in BC world is a relatively new concept, and I find it very important. If you are part of this community and you're following, or you're a fan of BC Tech Days, Tina Starich had an amazing session. I hope I got this correct, in 24, reviewing the code review. That was a fantastic session, and I'm pretty sure that's one of the favorites for many people. That was really fantastic job. And have a look at it. He explained really in detail the entire session about code reviews. I find them extremely important. I hear people saying, "Oh, I'm in CAL. I'm not still on AL. I cannot do it." Wrong. If you know how to use OMA history, if you're using OMA tool, if not, I would really suggest if you're on CAL to use it. You can do easily code reviews when you know how to compare different versions of your object in CAL, and you can easily do code review. And please don't get code review. The other day, someone asked me, is it to control someone? No, definitely it's not to control someone. It's to spread knowledge. It's to have shared ownership. It's to mentor and learn. You can be on both sides of this, right? You can be a mentor and you can also learn. It's improving quality immense. I remember some years ago, first time I needed to push my ticket to code review. I was so nervous because you think about your coding on completely different levels. Someone else is going to have a look at it immediately. 4 eyes check. So you really make sure you did it neat, your documentation and everything is neat, your whatever, function naming, everything. It's extremely important and it will improve your quality. You can be sure about that. Protecting about technical debt. Sloppy code today is pain tomorrow. We will talk also technical debt in engineering management circles. It's really a big topic, and we will mention it once again. We have to speed up because it is already 4:46. Estimation. Let's talk a little about estimation. You all know about Fibonacci numbers. That's based because complexity grows non-linear, like Fibonacci numbers. And nature does it. It's extremely amazing. Nature does it on its own. There is so many examples of Fibonacci sequence in nature. I find it really, really impressive. So now we can argue with it. If you're hardcore agile person, or you can follow this guy on X Twitter, Alan Holub. He's what I call Silicon Valley agile. So for him, our estimations even old school. He says no estimation. We are in software development. Estimations are not possible. You cannot know in advance what it will take. I'm not sure if I can agree to this. You can call me that I'm not what I call Silicon Valley agile. I like to have a certain scale, a certain whatever to follow, to see how many story points I'm able or my team is able to do in one sprint, and then to try to be better, to do more story points in the next sprint, right? So we can argue about this. We can make the entire presentation about estimations itself. I personally like it. You can call us, we are busy world, we are old school. I personally like to use it. But one thing on which we can all agree, whether you're on Alan Holub's side of extreme agile or a bit in a mid-level, everyone agrees you can always split your stories, split your tickets as much as possible. Try to split until the stage that really you cannot split it anymore. So split until you have the smallest, so really that caption ticket, or really to the really small. Of course, I'm exaggerating with caption a bit. Please don't get me extremely. Yeah, don't take it really. How to say it? Really hard, but try to split as much as possible. It leads to better understanding. It leads to faster feedback. It leads to less risk. Let's go forward, guys. I love this slide. So this is about having honest feedback in your retro meeting. And originally formulated by Norm Carth in his book Project Retrospectives, a handbook for team review. These are quite heavy words, but bear with me. Regardless of what we discover, we understand and truly believe that everyone did the best job they could, given what they knew at the time, their skills and abilities, the resources available, and the situation at hand. Really, I don't know. I would need a couple of minutes again to think about it. I really find this is the core of Scrum, thinking about no one does bad job on purpose. There is no human being that wants to be bad on purpose. We have in Scrum to make such an environment that everyone can shine, that everyone can be the best version of themselves. And this especially is important for underperformance, right? We want to build supportive and growth-oriented environment where we will all thrive, and no one does this on purpose, right? I find that very important. And here I just mentioned once again, active listening in retrospective in every of your meetings. It's really important. I would gladly discuss this, but we have to move forward. The concept of Memento Mori is I guess, most people can know about it, right? That says Memento Mori says that time is limited, right? So if you want to go philosophical and you want to make this, if I want to make this presentation a bit morbid or something, it says every human being is gonna die. All of us, there is a day we're gonna die. So I don't want to go that philosophical, maybe scare some of you. I don't want this, but let's take it a bit less dramatic. Time is limited, and that's why we have sprints. That's why we have this. As Jeff Sutherland, I mentioned this guy a couple of times in this session. He says he wanted Scrum to be based or inspired by natural cycles and rhythms, right? Having in mind parallels between biological systems and iterative process, right? So I like this, the commitment. I like this is invisible deadline. It's actually not really invisible, but when one says deadline, that's normally taken very negatively. That's why I said invisible. I wanted to make it a bit softer. But guys, there is no deadline. This is commitment. You sit with a team. No one is forcing you. You be honest with yourself, and you say, guys, we can finish this and that in next 2 weeks. We are controlling this. It's not like director of IT came to us and said you have to finish 5 or 15 tickets. We are honest to ourselves, and that's our commitment. So that's why I call it. It's not really a deadline. It's simply commitment, and I find this really important to have this. Call them checkpoints. You have a checkpoint every 2 weeks. What did you achieve, and what can you do better, right? Reflect, learn, and improvise, radically prioritize. You will see this in a couple of slides. Let's move forward. Then I have Memento Mori for a sprint, and I have Memento Mori for backlogs. Backlog is that long list of tickets that you will never have time. You keep on postponing them, and you never do them. I have a rule. If it's not a hell yes, then it's probably no. If you think about this ticket, somebody asks you, shall we do it or not? If you think too much about it, then it's probably no. I like to think about decision-making this way as well. Even in my private life, if I'm trying to declutter my room and my wife comes and asks, do we need this? If I'm thinking already 3 or more or 5 seconds about it, I probably don't need it. I will figure out ways in my brain to make different scenarios. What if? Well, there is no what if. Just if it's not hell yes, if you hesitate, it's a no. Flag the item. If it comes more 2, 3, I don't know how many times we know, just archive it. You can always find it later if you really need it. If it's really important, it will come back to you, trust me. flag your backlog, label it with due dates, then you will really manage to minimize your backlog, right? Once again, every item ignored today is a technical debt for tomorrow, and radically prioritize. Let's move forward. 80-20 principle, it's known to everyone. Let's move forward because we don't have that much time. Done is better than perfect. So 20% of effort is normally 80% of results. Try to roll out your product early and get your feedback fast, right? I have this is a literal photo from the book. I couldn't find it online. This is what Jeff Sutherland shows in his book. So this is where you, this is percent of value and this is percent of features. So try to already release here. When you are on 20% features, you will mostly be about 80% of value, right? So try to figure it out and try to release as soon as possible, right? Giving and receiving honest feedback, really important in today's world. And what I want to mention here is be kind, not nice. It doesn't mean that you are not nice. Kind means you're telling the hard truth. It's not personal, but you're giving a constructive feedback. And being nice is just avoiding difficult conversation. It's nice to be nice, but it's not constructive. Be kind instead. Be able to give constructive feedback and do not take it personally, right? Clear feedback builds strong teams. And it's very important to use this SBI model: situation, behavior, impact. So one example, during yesterday's sprint review, that is your situation. You interrupted the customer several times, that is behavior, and then you say, you explain what is the impact. When you do feedback in this way, whether it's in your retro or in your one-on-one, it will be less personal, and then you will achieve something. Once again, fix the root cause, not the symptoms. Try to see a big picture. I love this one. I repeat this every single day. To me, these two. If you don't know where to start, just start. Guys, I'm serious. Action reveals the path. If you're stuck, if you think it's too complex, take the courage and start. I read somewhere that you make yourself believe. So to make this decision that you're gonna start, it's already 30–40% of job done. It's all in your mind. Just start. It's not complex as you think. And the second, I already now mentioned, it's probably easier than you think. We tend in our brain to overcomplicate, overthink stuff. It's not that complex. It's Business Central. You can always have a standard code and get some idea, right? Do the first step, just start. Action is the antidote to fear, as Stoic principle says. Don't worry, I'm trying really to speed this up. What will be in today's world, one presentation without mentioning AI, right? With AI, we will build faster, we will analyze faster, we will code faster. I hope you already use GitHub Copilot. You use the other cursor tool. It's amazing. It will already help you with code reviews. Remember, cursor or GitHub. It's dumb that I didn't mention here, but I wanted to focus on management part, not the development part. And I find tools will change, but people will stay. We have to focus on how we work together, communicate, collaborate, focus on problem solving. That's why I believe engineering management is now more important than ever. Even though there are some opinions, Amazon is cutting the middle tier manager. So some say middle tier manager will die soon. I hope this is not true. I believe the good engineers and good engineering managers and good teams will survive every era. Key takeaways, we have done it, we succeeded. A couple of them, you can read through them. Focus, stay centered, Scrum brings clarity, do everything in these clear cycles, be owner, have ownership, be a stoic a bit in your in your private as much as professional life, have a look. It's not a religion. It's not. I mean, you can take it pretty deep, but you can also have a light framework if you want to have a couple of principles that will really help you. I think system thinking is essential. Technical debt, everything you try to postpone and you don't know, and you do that spaghetti code and you do a quick and dirty, it's invisible but deadly. Deliver value early with 80-20. Be constructive with your retrospectives and feedback. These are the superpowers. Agile is not the same as Scrum. They are interconnected, but what is in common? It's continuous improvement, and the future belongs to those who know how to work with people. Engineering mindset is important, a bit more than tool expertise. At least I find it like that. And guys, this is the one of the last slides. I brought to you some materials. I'm not sure if you have heard about Substack platform, but it's really important in at least I think for engineers, engineering managers, you can find a lot of people there sharing knowledge about various topics about engineering management. There is a lot of good material. There is a lot of free content. So have a look if you're interested to learn more. I already mentioned Alan Holub. If you want to go agile, hardcore, follow this guy on X. He's really crazy about his views. You can get in conversation with him if you want to go hardcore agile. Lead Dev is a community that does conferences. BC Tech Days is still my favorite conference, but they have, if you're once again interested in engineering leadership, have a look. They have conferences in Berlin, New York, London, and I think San Francisco. A lot of smart people, a lot of interesting content, and they also do blogs, talks, and webinars, not only conferences. And this is the book that I mentioned a couple of times in this call. This is The Art of Doing Twice the Work in Half the Time by Jeff Sutherland. He's the co-creator of Scrum, and you can find in this, let me check, I have the book here in front of me. In around 200 pages, you can find everything about Scrum you need. And I guess this deserves a drum roll for the end. Thank you so much, guys, for staying with me. We made it. I would be happy to maybe, I don't know, Bert, it's already 5:02. If you have time for questions, if there are any questions, we can gladly take a couple of minutes. And then if not, then it's also fine. Back to you, Bert.
Thanks a lot, Ivan. And I find it very interesting that you also compare it, the same principles that you applied with your merits. So, and funny enough, you see, indeed, I was thinking on it, you see the comparison on it.
Yeah.
There are no question. I've just got one question on it. When you say about the backlog is about prioritizing, but how do you prioritize it behalf on different stakeholders? Because you've got product management, you probably have account management, you've got also dev from her to have technical depth. How do you prioritize that backlog?
Well, yeah, it's a good question. It's probably a $1 million question. Yeah, so we work also with roadmaps. So once again, if you go hardcore agile, there will be different opinions about roadmaps, having roadmaps, and how much in advance you can go with your roadmap. Should you have roadmap for a couple of months or the entire year? But we have roadmaps, and then we put on these roadmaps, that's a simple timeline, which project should happen in which quarter or something like this. So you have this as a very, 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 very high level. What is planned? What do we do? What do we want to do on Q1, Q2, and so on a very high level? And then I guess that's basically heavily prioritizing is the job of your product owner. I'm not sure if you have one or not, but actually product owner is owning the backlog, and the Scrum team is owning the sprint backlog. So what we agreed that we will do in 2 weeks, that is our ownership as the development team, but product backlog itself, it's ownership of the PO. So it's actually his job, his or her job. So combining a roadmap and backlog, I guess, so it's not easy. There is always fight. Also, in some teams there are multiple POs, so you have to fight between each other. I don't know, and explain why do they think one thing is more important. Does it have external dependency that we have to do it in the next 2 weeks? Can it wait? Where is it on our roadmap? And so on and so on. You can always take two things and compare which one is important, right? That must be possible. The thing is that backlog has not only two things, it has, I don't know, 100 or something. So, but just to mention what Scrum says by definition about it, product owner is responsible for this, or if there are multiple, they should be able to find a way how to realize what is important, to flag things that will not bring value. So you should, or product owners should always have in mind what will bring most value to our customers, and then based on that, trying really radically to prioritize and to be brave to say, no, we don't do that. This is important. This will bring 60% of the value. We will not do it to be shiny. I don't know. In BC, things, for example, do not have to be shiny. We are not mobile developers, and so on and so on. I hope that gives kind of that, right?
Yeah, certainly. And saying no is always the hardest part, and ditching it. So indeed.
So good. So good. Saying no. Sorry, this is also one of my favorites. Thanks, Bert, for bringing it up. Have courage. Be a stoic and say no. But I'm serious about this. But it doesn't mean you have to say no to every single thing. But if you think it's not important for now, people will even respect you more if you're able to recognize when to say no. I'm serious about it. There are people, they're specialists that they say every time, yes, I will do that. Yes, I will do that on the weekend, on the evening. That is not how we want to work. Try to prioritize and be able, have courage, be a stoic and say no. Thank you so much once again for joining. Yes, and good luck with implementing Scrum.
Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you found this helpful. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like, subscribe, and drop a comment if you want to share your thoughts or questions. See you in the next one.